Hello, my name is Daniel Funes, and the topic that I have chosen was the prostitution one. So here we go. Prostitution is sometimes referred to as the oldest profession. In everyday speech, suggesting that it existed throughout human history, others contend that prostitution should be recognized and regulated for several reasons, even though some individuals see it as a profession. The link is nodrigmodelnow.org. Number one, public health and safety. Share my screen. Public health and safety. Governments might control the prostitution sector, but health standards in place and require health examines for sex workers if they legalize the practice. This could be reduce the transmission of sexually transmitted infections, STIs, and improve the overall health and safety of both sex workers and their clients. Number two, reduce exploitation. Making prostitution illegal can result in sex workers being exploited and left alone to abuse, violence, and human trafficking. Strict restrictions and legalization can protect sex workers by giving them access to support services, legal protections, and a safer working environment. Extradicy.com. And there's this link and it's a YouTube video.
What is prostitution? Many people say it's the world's oldest profession, that it's a job, just like any other job. But when you look at the real lives and real experiences of those in prostitution, it's clear that it's unlike any other job. 98% of those bought in prostitution are women. 99% of the buyers are men. These numbers reveal that at its very core, prostitution is a system of gender inequality. It's a system where women exist to fulfill the sexual desires of men. She is seen as a product to be bought, used, and discarded. Within this system of inequality, women in prostitution routinely endure violent, exploitative, and dehumanizing acts at the hands of sex buyers and pimps that are incomparable to any other profession. Our society has created laws against workplace sexual harassment, but in prostitution, the job is sexual harassment. One survivor said, as a prostitute, you do not get to frame the boundaries of your sexual experience. The largest study ever conducted on prostitution revealed that 63% of women in prostitution experience rape, and 71% experience multiple forms of physical violence. Yet another study revealed the types of violence women in prostitution experience, which included being kicked, punched, robbed, strangled, kidnapped, burnt with cigarettes, slashed with razor blades, and urinated on. As a result, the majority of women studied in prostitution met the criteria for post-traumatic stress disorder on the same level as combat victims and torture victims. The mortality rate of women in prostitution is 200 times higher than the general population of women. These are not job hazards. These are statistical probabilities that women in prostitution will be sexually and physically assaulted and will suffer from severe mental and emotional trauma. This is not a job. It is a violation of human rights. It is a system of violence, exploitation, and inequality against women, and it must be stopped. Join the movement to end the business of exploitation. Share this video. Tell the world the truth about prostitution.
Number three, taxation and income. Making prostitution legal would turn it into a taxable business, possibly bringing in income for the government. With this money, social programs might be supported, rehabilitation services could be supported, and underlying problems that might encourage people to participate in sex work could be addressed. Number 4, focus on crimes instead of pursuing consenting individuals who engage in sex work. Law enforcement may tackle more serious crimes such as human trafficking and sexual exploitation by legalizing and regulating prostitution. www.ojp.gov. And also too, what I'm sharing on my screen is the whole reason why I wanted to do this topic, because I just watched this movie. Sound of Freedom tells the true story of Tim Ballard, played by Jim, a U.S. federal agent who rescues a young boy from child traffickers in Colombia. After recovering the boy, Ballard thought his job was done and that he'd be able to go back home. But then he learns the boy has a sister who is still being held captive by the same group of criminals looking to exploit her for profit and destroy her life. Torn between his work and his conscience, Ballard decides to go to whatever lengths are necessary to save the boy's sister. He ends up quitting his job and heading straight into the forbidding Colombian jungle, risking his life to liberate her. It's a suspenseful, true story that places child trafficking at the center of the narrative. So I decided to use this because it really explains on this topic, and we're gonna what I'm gonna play right now is the ending like special message credits. So here we go. I just really like the message.
I want to thank you all for coming out and watching this movie. I guess some of you are feeling sad, maybe overwhelmed, or even a sense of fear, which is understandable.
Understatement.
Living in fear isn't how we solve this problem. It's living in hope. It's believing that we can make a difference because we can. I want to make one thing clear. This movie you just watched isn't about me or Tim Ballard. It's about those kids. You know, Steve Jobs once said, the most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. Abraham Lincoln credited Harriet Stowe when she wrote Tom's Cabin. This powerful story inspired millions to rise up and fight against slavery. I think we can make Sound of Freedom the Uncle Tom's Cabin of 21st century slavery. This film was actually made 5 years ago. It wasn't released till now. Every roadblock that you can imagine being tossed away. Names you see here on the screen took a stand, and they made sure this story could be shown.
Disney didn't want it shown.
And now all of you have the opportunity to continue telling this story. We don't have big studio money to market this movie, but we have you. The time has now been passed to you. You are the storytellers that can get people to come see this film in theaters. When you come to a theater, you experience movies differently. There is no pause button. There are no distractions. We all have an experience as we watch the film together as a community. It makes it possible for strong messages like this one to take root. Sound of Freedom is a hero's tale, but I'm not talking about the character I play. It's the heroic brother and sister in this film that work to save each other. They are the true heroes. The most powerful person in this world is the storyteller. Together, we have a chance to make these two kids and the countless children that they represent the most powerful people in the world by telling their story in a way only the cinema can do. Couple of months while Sound of Freedom is in theaters, these kids can be more powerful than the cartel kingpins or presidents, congressmen, or even tech billionaires. We believe this movie has the power to be a huge step forward toward ending child trafficking, but it will only have that effect if millions of people see it. Now, I know it's weird because we're in the theater, but feel free to pull out your phones and scan this QR code. We don't want finances to be the reason someone doesn't see this movie. So Angel Studios boldly has set up a pay it forward program where you can pay for someone else's ticket
I'm paying
who
for
might
some.
not otherwise see it. If you're able, we invite you to pay it forward by buying a ticket for someone else. Or if your budget is
Buying
tight,
10.
share the already available free tickets with as many friends as you can, or do both. Join us and millions of others as we ring Sound of Freedom and hope throughout the world. Just remember this: God's children are not for sale.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Gotcha. Sure.
However, the legalization of prostitution is a continuous topic, and opposing arguments often revolve around moral, ethical, and social concerns. Critics claim that prostitution encourages the abduction of people, especially women, and turns human bodies into commodities, which raises serious moral questions. 2. Social stigma. Even if legalized, there might still be social stigmatization associated with engaging in sex work, and which can lead to further marginalization of sex workers. Number 3, increased demand and trafficking. Legalization prostitution may potentially increase the demand for commercial sex, which can in turn fuel human trafficking and sexual exploitation, especially in regions with regulations. .harvard.edu. In conclusion, oh, the debate over the legalization of prostitution is complex and multifaceted. Components of legalization argue that the regulation could improve the safety and well-being of sex workers, protect their rights, and generate revenue for the government. On the other hand, opponents are concerned about the potential for exploitation, social stigma, and moral implications. Ultimately, it is up to society and policymakers to carefully weigh these arguments and decide on the most appropriate to address the issue of prostitution. Thank you.